Hello, everyone. I'm Melanie Santostefano with Local Gov Stories. Welcome to our 5th edition of Local Gov Stories podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. Danny Langloss, the city administrator for the city of Dixon, is joining us as a guest host. You may know Jim Moran is our normal host, and he is actually very, very busy because Jim was promoted to assistant in the village of Antioch. He was communications and he has been promoted, and now he is, I think he said he was drinking through a fire hose, if I'm not mistaken, learning a new job, which everybody knows, the beginning of a new job is just so much information coming at you. So Danny is giving Jim a break. So Danny, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me. It's my pleasure.
I'm excited to have you here. So before we get to a little bit of dates on the calendar that we want to tell everybody about, why don't you give everyone a little bit of a preview? I know you interviewed our opening keynote, Peter Kageyama. Did I say that right?
Peter Kageyama.
These names are challenging me lately. Give us a little glimpse into your interview, which we'll get to in a few minutes.
So first and foremost, he is coming from Chamonix, France. So he and his wife, I think, are between places. They live in St. Pete's. They're spending the summer in France. So he's flying into Minneapolis and driving to Galena to be with us. And he's talking about creating emotionally engaging places, which that title really grabbed me because I think as leaders, as city managers, that's what we're trying to do within our teams and the culture of the entire city, but also with our community. And so he's going to take a dive into how to do that.
I love that. And I know for you, in knowing you, that you are very dedicated to Dixon. And I did get a glimpse at the interview, but you do talk a little bit about steps that you had taken way back when to kind of get the community back in loving it as a community, right? There were challenges. We've talked about those in Dixon in a previous episode, but so you had a job ahead of you to really get people at the table who cared about your town. So why don't you talk a little bit about that? I think it's very interesting.
Yeah, just from a high level, community engagement is so important, engaging the leaders that are in the community, right? Which he talks about doing. And so we needed to do some visioning. We had a vision, but did it match the communities? And so we went out and recruited a diverse group of the top leaders, the movers and shakers in our community, and they became part of a group called Dixon Strong. And those conversations started with a listening session. What is their vision? What do they see? What are our areas for growth? What are our challenges? Come together as a group. And then we drove community engagement with like 2,000 survey responses to really set the incredible trajectory that we're on. And that group has stayed involved and has helped us at many steps. And they really helped us understand how the community views things versus maybe how we view them, being so tight to what we're doing day in and day out in government.
Absolutely important work. And even your email address, Danny Langloss at discoverdixon.org. He wants everyone to discover Dixon. So for those of you out there who are leading your communities in many different ways, this might be take a page from this playbook and certainly come to conference, because Peter was amazing. I mean, it was a really great interview. You did a great job. You really kind of pulled the information out we needed, but he talked so much about having that plan and getting the right people together, and they might be people that you don't expect. He even talked about bringing artists, people that could do murals in town that inspire people. That's all part of it. There's so many different angles of what makes people love where they live. So I'm excited for that interview. So we'll have that in just a couple of minutes. I do have some calendar items to mention. Yeah, so we have, of course, the Illinois City County Management Association. And for those of you not in local government that may be viewing, that is ILCMA. And I'm about to tell you about a lot of different acronyms that are in local government organizations. But ILCMA's conference is the 4th, 5th, and 6th. Peter, who you're going to hear from, is the opening keynote. And then I have interviewed Eric McElvenny as the closing keynote for later in this episode. So definitely sign up. There are some registrations left, but not many. And this is really going to be a conference that you shouldn't miss. So you'll be there, right, Danny?
I'll be there.
Good. Me too. Also, IAMA has started something so super fun, the Out to Play Summer Series. And this is supported by 7 amazing organizations that serve local government. But before I list who they are, I'm going to just tell you that I love this tagline. Get ready for this, Danny. 7 local government organizations, 2 annoying cicada broods, and 1 unforgettable summer. Like, that's great marketing.
That is
I
good
just love
marketing.
that. I want to go now. um, so the organizations are IAMA, which is the Illinois Association of Municipal Management Assistants. So these are the up and comers, the younger people that are growing into becoming leaders someday. The Chicago Metro Chapter of American Public Works Association, APWA, Illinois Chapter of American Planning Association, APA-IL, Illinois Government Finance Officers Association, IGFOA. Oh gosh, just a few more. Hang in there, everybody. Illinois Public Employer Labor Relations Association, IPELRA, our HR people, the Legacy Project, and Women in Planning and Development, which I wasn't aware that there was an organization for that. I love that.
Very nice.
So the first event is coming up. It's the night that the conference ends. So that means you can leave Galena, head back to your home, change, and then go out that night at 6 o'clock till 8 o'clock in Evanston at the Evanston Temperance Beer Company. So for those of you that think local government people aren't fun, they're meeting at a beer company. So they're
Local
social
government
tips.
people are very fun.
Yes, you are. And so are many I know. And then the other one I'll mention is June 20th, also 6 to 8 p.m. in Chicago at the Brewery and Tap Room in Chicago at 3340 North Kedzie. You can get more information on all of those events at ilcma.org and click on the calendar. And the last one I will mention is the IGFOA, which is the Finance Officers Association. Their conference is coming up in September 9th, 10th, 11th in Springfield. And if you're interested in attending that, you can visit igfoa.org. So there, I'm done with that laundry list. Whew. Anyway, so let's see. Maybe we should just get to that interview and let people hear from Peter and all about how to build an amazing city or village.
I think that's a good idea. It was a great interview.
It sure was. Everybody, let's check it out.
Hello, leaders from all across Illinois. We're excited to have you join us on the Illinois City Managers podcast. We are gearing up for the 2024 ILCMA conference in Galena, Illinois from June 4th to the 6th. And I'm lucky enough today to be joined by an incredible man. He's been all over the country, all over the world, Peter Kageyma. And he's got a topic that just really caught my eye and I wanted to learn more about. It's about creating emotionally engaging places. And as a leader, as somebody come up through the ranks of the city, as somebody who works with other leaders, it really is about emotional connection. So I'm so excited to be learning just a little bit. Like, we're not going to go into everything today, right? Because we need to come to the keynote. But he has the opening keynote on June 5th. It's Wednesday at 8:50 a.m. right after the introductions. So we are so excited to have him joining us to get kind of an inside look at what this is going to all be about. And there is the awkward pause. Peter, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure, Danny. Glad to be here.
So Peter and I were talking off air, and he's actually got a little bit of a long trip to come out and see us. We're so blessed to be having him here. Peter, give us a little bit of the backdrop in this story. Where are you going to be coming from?
Okay, so normally I live in St. Petersburg, Florida. Normally it's a fairly easy trip, even though Galena is a little bit far afield, but because of some circumstances, my wife and I are selling our place and our new place isn't going to be ready yet. We're actually decamping to France for the summer. And I know that's terrible. People are going to, oh, you poor guy. But I do have kind of a long trip to come visit you. I'm coming from Chamonix through Minneapolis. I got to stay overnight in Minneapolis to Cedar Rapids the next day, drive from Cedar Rapids to Galena. And then after the talk, I got to go back to Cedar Rapids, back to Minneapolis, and ultimately back home there. So it's a lot of frequent flyer miles are involved in this. So I'd like some credit for coming as far as I do.
Mad credit. Because when we were talking offline, I was thinking you had an engagement in Minneapolis and then you were coming here. Like, you're leaving France, coming to Galena, Illinois to spend time with the Illinois City Managers Association. And then you're heading back to France.
I made the commitment. I'm happy to do it. Thank God for, good airline connections and all that stuff. It's kind of a miracle if you think about it. It's like, you can get halfway around the world, come share, to be in person, I know, we learned that Zoom is a great tool. I mean, we're using this right now, but there is still something about, face-to-face connections and people coming together in a spot to learn from each other, just to connect, because we're social creatures. I think that's sort of also part of at the core of my work, is recognizing that we're social creatures.
So important. That connection, that in person. I tell you, being a city manager now for about 7 years, this conference is so well done. Dawn Peters and her staff, they always bring in great keynotes to open and to close. There's awesome networking events. And I also think it's cool that they're doing this podcast, and it's an honor to be stepping in this week and helping out a little bit as a guest host, just so people can get an idea of what is it that I'm coming to build up that excitement. So you wrote a book back in 2012, one of the top 10 books in earning planning and development, called For the Love of Cities, the love affair between people and their places. What was the inspiration for that?
Yeah. I credit the city of Detroit and the state of Michigan for that. I had been doing some consulting work in the mid 2000s, and I went to Detroit really for the first time in like 2007. And you remember that there was a lot of negativity around Detroit and Michigan at that time. I mean, the phrase "circling the drain" was often used, regarding those places. And things were tough, no doubt about it. But my friends who had invited me to come see what was going on there, they introduced me to a lot of people who were doing some small, kind of under the radar projects there in the city and really across the state. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. And I realized that these people were still desperately, passionately in love with that messed up town. And I go, that's something that is important, and as long as there were people who still love Detroit and still love Michigan, it was never really going to fail. And I realized that was what I wanted to tell that story. And it started to percolate this idea of these people who were in love with their place and the difference that they made in those places.
There was a book around, or maybe before that time, The Rise of the Creative Class. And you told me that there was a little bit of maybe controversy around it, a different way of thinking. Can you talk about how that tied in to this?
Well, Richard was one of the inspirations for me. He was the one who really kind of first got me interested in this sort of the urban development side of things. And so his book, Rise of the Creative Class, many of the audience will probably remember that from 2002. He talked about the importance of creative and innovative people. He said that economies of the 21st century are going to be built around creative, talented people, not necessarily companies, because the companies will go where the talented people are. And talented people want great places. They don't want tax incentives and land deals and all that kind of stuff. They want great places. Now, this seems really obvious now because we're all in the business of placemaking now, right? But in 2002, this turned economic development kind of on its head because, most cities, most states were still chasing smokestacks, looking at tax deals and tax incentives, land deals, all that kind of stuff to lure companies to them. Richard says you ought to be paying more attention to luring the talented people because the companies will follow the people. And I think we now realize how true that is. And like I said, now all of you are in the business of talent attraction, talent retention, and placemaking because people want great places.
Yeah, it appears way ahead of his time. Ahead of your time. And I know in Dixon, like in many of the communities across Illinois, I mean, our goal is to be the place to live. It's quality of life, place to live, all the things that go along with that, but tapping in to these creative and innovative people in your community. Before we step into your keynote and just kind of a high level overview of it, though, I mean, you have direct experiences within your community, seeing this in action. Can you talk about that?
So I mentioned Richard was a big influence. So I was part of a group that brought him to Tampa Bay for the very first time in 2003, right after the book came out. And he did a talk over in Tampa that really got people excited. And it's like the idea was really, quite significant, very profound. So we created this organization that was concerned with talent attraction, talent retention, making sure our young professionals stayed here, and also about making great places. The organization was called Creative Tampa Bay, and I was initially a board member and eventually became the president of that organization. And we spent a lot of time talking about these issues. We commissioned research, we did studies, we brought in different speakers, we hosted conferences. I ended up speaking at a lot of different events, and again, we were part of the forefront of this conversation about placemaking. So we're getting the Chamber of Commerce and the city and economic development folks to realize, hey, wait a minute, placemaking is kind of important. And again, I think we did our job, because now it just seems really obvious that of course this is important. You know, timing is everything, right? But yeah, that was my first foray into all of that.
When you look at your time as the president of Creative Tampa Bay, what are some things you look back on that you're proud of, big accomplishments, or about what you kind of started and ignited there?
Yeah. Well, one of the first things we did was this big research project about, it was called The Young and the Restless, which is a catchy term to look and examine what young professionals really wanted. Because, you know, in the past, most chambers of commerce, they had a junior chamber of commerce, right? Now think about how insulting that is, like the junior chamber of commerce. It's like the kids table, there. So what it did is it forced the chamber to rethink the way it approached these young professionals and not treat them like children, you know, at Thanksgiving. This is, wait a minute, they have different wants, they have different needs, they want things that are social, they want networking opportunities, they want to learn, they want to get connected. And that made them totally rework the biggest chamber in our region, the Tampa chamber. Once they did that, pretty much every other chamber in the Bay Area started to follow suit. And it's like, wow, we kind of, you know, we initiated that. We created that change. And I would like to think that that was a pretty profound thing, because again, young professionals, if you can get them engaged and motivated, they're more likely to stay. They're maybe start their own companies, but certainly they are the fuel for like most 21st century economies. So yeah, I think that was maybe our biggest thing.
And what I hear based on your work and what you talked about is you created an environment where these young professionals would fall in love with Tampa Bay and be fully
Yeah.
committed to Tampa Bay.
That was part of it, you know. Again, think about, you know, ask your young professionals, what do they want today? And the answer is the same as it was 20 years ago. They want cool places, you know, to live. They want affordable housing. They want to probably be able to walk, you know, from one cool thing to another, and ideally maybe even walk or bike to work. They'd like to have some flexible options in terms of a working environment. They want a thick job market, that if they lose their job over here, they can go across the street and still find another job. You know, and they want things that are social. They want they want activities, you know, all the things that, you know, frankly, all things that, you know, we want. It's like, I'm older now. I just want them at a different time of day.
Amen. Amen. So this opportunity, you being the president of Creative Tampa Bay, walking through this, the inspiration of the rise of the creative class and what you guys learned through there, that put you on a path or a new trajectory and into the speaking and
Yes.
education world.
Yeah. So like you said, my first book came out in 2012, For the Love of Cities. And that was followed by Love Where You Live, and the Emotional Infrastructure of Places. And then I did the 10-year anniversary and did a very highly revised version of For the Love of Cities, revisited. And all of these have been conversations about love and emotional engagement with our places. You know, what is it, you know, what does it mean for us to fall in love with our places, and why that's a good thing, especially for city managers like you or mayors out there. Why do you want your residents, your citizens, to be emotionally connected? Well, there's lots of reasons. When they're emotionally connected, they're going to do things for you. They're going to be more participatory. They're going to be active. They care. They give a damn in all this. You know, they're not just simply sitting back and waiting for you guys to make the city better for them. They'd like to maybe be part of the mix. You know, they're not going to maybe, you know, build roads and bridges and schools, but they might do some really cool things that help you in terms of creating the totality of a really interesting and a well-rounded, you know, fun and emotionally engaging place.
So your keynote, creating emotionally engaging places. I'm going to guess that you were going to talk to us about how to bring to life all the things we're just talking about within our own communities.
So, you know, I mentioned these creative people who are in your community doing things. I bet all of, you know, all of our viewers, our listeners, they go, oh yeah, I know those folks in our community. They're the entrepreneurs, they're the artists, sometimes they're the agitators. They make stuff happen in the community. And we tend to think of them, it's like they just sort of naturally occur. It's like, and most of the time, and every community does have them. But I believe that they are really important to making great places, because they can do things that the official folks like you can't do. So you need that. You need good top down and interesting bottom up. and then it meets in the middle, that's when places really get interesting. And so I talk about how you, as the leaders in a place, as the official leaders in a place, how do you cultivate that environment where you're more likely to get more citizens to be engaged and to want to do something with you guys? And then how do you deal with them when they don't do it quite the same way that you'd like, or quite the way that maybe the city attorney would like? Yeah, I get that. There is a balancing act that goes in this. But I think ultimately the upside on finding more people who want to be engaged with your place and do things for your city, your town, it's amazing, because again, they don't see the problems the same way. They don't see the solutions in the same way. They're going to come up with some wildly cool stuff that you love to add to the mix of what you're doing in your place.
It's so powerful. I think early in my tenure as city manager, recognizing we had all these talented people who loved the community, who were creative and innovative in their own spaces. And so we put this diverse group of people together. It's called Dixon Strong, drove some incredible community engagement, and really began to shape the future of Dixon and what Dixon is becoming.
Yes.
We've been able to tap into those people along the way.
Yeah.
Because no matter how committed we are, I've been in Dixon for 28 years. I love Dixon. I bleed purple. But one person, what one person can do versus the synergy, you get 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 people with that energy and that love, you just become unstoppable.
Yeah. And they all bring something different to the table. And, synergy is a good word, because again, there's stuff that you as a city manager, you bring, a whole set of resources to the table with that, but then maybe an artist does something else, or a restaurateur, or, somebody who wants to start a local brewery. They're all bringing something different to the table. But the goal is, again, how do we make this place better, more interesting, more lovable? Yeah.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I was going to ask you, why should people come that morning and hear the keynote? But I don't need to ask that, because if you haven't figured out why you need to come and see Peter and listen to his message and hear these stories, well, there's nobody watching this that hasn't figured it out. They can see how
and,
sure they're as excited as I am.
I'd remind them that they already paid for the content. They may as well come and hear it. So, yeah.
You've already paid, so you should come. I really see this as transformational, because a lot of the work that I do and our focus is creating this high level of love, engagement, commitment, ownership across all levels of the organization. And I love the marrying of, like, how do you do that intentionally with your community? How do you tap into your community?
I'm going to show folks lots of fun examples from all over the country. And maybe that'll spark some ideas, or they're going to say, oh yeah, we're already doing something like that. That's great. But maybe there's a different aspect, that maybe they might see a different opportunity for their own community.
Awesome. Awesome. Is there anything I should be asking you about that I haven't asked you about so far as we preview this awesome keynote?
No, I'm excited about coming to visit you guys. If folks want to look my work up ahead of time, search under my name, Peter Kageyama, on Amazon. All my books are available as print and ebook versions. They might even find a couple of novels that I've started writing in the last 3 years. A little historic fiction. It was a COVID project that's kind of gotten a life of its own after that. But yeah, would love to chat with you about your own city and the things that you love about your place. I also ask people, it's like, bring me a cool example, and you never know, I might end up using it in a future talk. It's like, oh, that's awesome. I've never seen that before. But yeah, so hopefully, there's a good two-way conversation going on there.
Excellent. So Wednesday, June 5th, kicking off the conference in Galena. 8:50 a.m., creating emotionally engaged places. This is going to be really, really good. Peter's going to come to us from France for justice engagement, and then we will be going back to France. Peter, can't wait to meet you in person. Thank you so much. You're a rock star.
You're welcome, Danny. Look forward to seeing you in just a few weeks.
All right. See you then.
That was hugely informative. I really can't wait to see Peter speak. I'm really looking forward to his keynote on Wednesday morning. And great interview. Danny,
Thank
you're
you.
a natural. You're really a natural. You asked all the right questions. So I hope that really informed people and gave everyone some initial tips, and you'll get more at the conference. So be sure to sign up, ILCMA.org, click on conferences, and get over to that conference 4th, 5th, and 6th.
This schedule is stacked. I mean, they have put together an incredible conference, and who doesn't love Galena?
I know Galena is so beautiful. I can't even wait to go. Oh my gosh, so excited. And I hope everyone out there who isn't registered yet and can will join Danny and I and many others. So before we go on to our next interview with the closing keynote, tell us what's going on in Dixon, the town that you love and support, Danny. Anything interesting happening?
Well, there's a lot of fun things happening. I personally just got back from Las Vegas, the ICSC, largest retail convention in the country, met with a ton of different companies. The great part is you meet the people that are the contact for your region, the decision makers. I can't wait to see what comes from it as we continue to expand our 88 corridor. It's our third year in a row going, and it's been really fruitful. So I've got a lot of follow-up to do today.
I'm sure.
Speaking of
Anyone of
follow-up,
note?
well, we talk with Home Depot, Lowe's, several restaurants, Applebee's, IHOP, Panda Express, a lot of things to add to the lineup that we already have in place and going up. You know, those 2 hotels will
Yeah,
be done by the end of the year. One will open here soon, and it's just cool to see that corridor broke open, you know, and
sure.
as the I always talk about the best way to predict the future is to create it. And I want to
Mhm.
challenge all the city managers, all the government officials that'll attend the conference that'll watch this, that we are creating the future of our communities. That is our role, not alone with our
Mhm.
communities. And that's what I'm
Mhm.
excited about with Peter and what he's sharing and creating these emotionally engaging places. But having said that, I think it's time to learn a little bit about the next interview with Eric McElvenny. Wow, what an inspiring story. And his energy is contagious. Do you want to give a little preview of that?
Yeah, so Eric is just a super cool guy for one. He and you know what, I only mention this not because it defines him at all, but he is a veteran Marine and he was had an IED explode on him and he lost the lower part of his leg. But I will tell you that he is so inspiring and that did not stop him. In fact, it inspired him. It made him push to his limits, and he is just an amazing person. He is an Ironman. He's a Paralympian, you know, obviously a veteran of our country, serving our country, and certainly made a sacrifice, a physical sacrifice for our well-being, which I have huge respect for, and I know everybody does. But you're going to hear how he advises people to build successful teams despite adversity, despite things that are in your way. You have to push through, just like he has in his life. His presentation, his closing keynote is harnessing resilience in the face of challenge. And I actually will just let the interview speak for itself because it's really powerful. So let's go on to that.
Let's go to that.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the ILCMA podcast. Today, I'm interviewing our closing keynote for the upcoming ILCMA conference. That's June 4th, 5th, and 6th at Eagle Ridge in Galena, beautiful Galena. Today, I'm with Eric McElvenny. He is an inspirational speaker, Paralympian. He is also a former veteran and someone who I know you'll be excited to learn more about. So thank you, Eric, for being here with us today.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So why don't we get right into it? You have a really amazing story, and I was hoping you could give us just a little glimpse into your story of triumph and overcoming adversity and being a strong leader. So we'll go right ahead. Tell us all about it.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So I was serving in the Marine Corps, and back in 2011, I was an infantry officer serving in Afghanistan. And in combat, I lost the lower part of my right leg to an IED explosion. And from there, kind of difficult situation, but just had, a great support network and family and friends. And we were able to kind of move forward from there, see it as a journey, and started racing the sport of triathlon. So I started racing Ironman triathlons and eventually led to representing Team USA in the Paralympics in Tokyo in 2021. So I just fortunate that throughout my life I've had people that help me navigate through challenge, and so through my journey of getting injured and kind of coming up with like a new normal and a fun journey. And I just recognize that there's resilience that we can all use. So I like to around the country and share them. And I can't wait for June. I think it's going to be awesome to be out there and share my presentation and my keynote.
It is a wonderful experience just to be with all of these individuals, the ILCMA members. These are leaders of towns all across Illinois, younger people who will be coming up. And I know that your message of leadership, resilience, finding a new normal with changing circumstances is just a huge life skill for anybody to have. So I know everyone will be really interested in hearing more about that. So, and on a side note, you're so impressive. I read ahead about you, and I'm honored to be talking with you because this is the example of the human spirit and what we all have to find in ourselves. Life's up and downs, maybe some not as serious as the ones that you have gone through, but serious nonetheless, where we all have to find a way through the fog and find what we can do that is positive and moving forward and is, meeting those challenges and making them work for us in the end. Obviously, you've done that. So why don't we give everybody a little bit of a glimpse into what you will be sharing as far as your background and helping people to be leaders through challenge.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I've loved doing this, but I get to share my story and my experiences, and they're unique to me. No one has the same story and experiences. Everyone has their own story, their own experiences, and I definitely think that there's similar strands that run throughout. So as I get to share some of my experiences, I just share principles that I've learned that have helped me to push through different challenges, and I use challenge in a good way because there's the opportunity to grow through challenge. So I get to explain how I did it and just the people that have impacted me in a big way, because everybody has those people. And I just really forward to sharing really, and there's tons of principles of resilience, but four main ones that really resonated with me that I can go back to. So really, I just want to give the audience some tools to go back lives, their professional lives, and the meaningful and purposeful lives that they have in professional, but also personal. Because I think what we do in our personal lives really overs and translates to how we do our jobs. So that's what I get to do. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it's all very connected, right? If you have things going on at home, you can bring that into work. So I'm excited for everyone to be able to learn more about and be able to utilize the lessons that you've had in your life and how they can apply them to their own. So just so everyone knows, Eric is not, in the next town over. He is in Japan right now as we talk. So it's actually 7 a.m. Central Time. And what time is it right now in Japan?
It's 8 p.m.
8
I'm in the
p.m.
future.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like a world away and like a whole almost half a day away.
Yeah.
All right. So tell us what you're doing in Japan.
So I'm out here for a race. I've been racing internationally. I had the absolute privilege of representing Team USA in the Paralympics in Tokyo. And right now we're in the final stages of trying to qualify for the Paralympics in Paris, France. So I'm out here for a big race. Got out here 2 days ago. Kind of trying to get used to the time and the course, getting some final training in, and then Saturday morning we'll go out there and I'll race against just some of the best athletes in the world, which is just an honor to do that. A couple races in June, and then we'll see if I qualify for Paris. It'll be a fun trip. Hopefully,
How
get to take the
exciting.
Yeah.
You not only get to just be, crushing it, but you also get to travel to really amazing places too. That's exciting.
Yeah.
On a side note, I will tell you, a person very, very close to me, his name is Tommy. He ended up becoming a paraplegic. He lost the whole entire use of his waist below in an accident. And I feel like there are similarities. He too took that as a good challenge, and he created his new now, and he did amazing things just like you. He was more in the he had 3 businesses, and he became an elected official, and he helped to kind of raise his nephews, and that made him so happy. And He's no longer with us, but he led a life that I see as similar to yours, where you are just taking what has gone on in your previous life and making it amazing. And I know that you are going to be a true inspiration at conference, and I really can't wait to see you. And I know after everyone watches this, they can't wait to see you as well. So I totally appreciate you being with us today to give a glimpse, but everyone has to attend conference in order to get the full exciting story and lessons that Eric will be sharing with us. So again, that is June 4th through 6th, a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, a little different this year than previous years. Go to ilcma.org/conferences. I know that there are at least a few spots left, but this is filling up quickly. And I think once everyone sees this, they're going to run and register to see Eric speak for us. So thank you, Eric, for joining us from Japan. Later in the evening for you and early morning for me. And I'm glad we were able to make it happen. So thank you again. And we will see you in Galena.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I can't wait to see everyone. Thank you.
Melanie, what an incredible interview. Phenomenal job. Wow, what an inspiring story.
Yeah, he really, yes, that's the word, inspiring.
For me, his story, and you hear a lot of people who have faced significant adversity, right? We all face adversity. We get overwhelmed by it. We get stuck in our world, and all these things add up. But when you hear somebody like Eric talk, I mean, losing his leg in combat to an IED, you know, and what he's done in the Ironman, right? The way he's persevered, the way his resilience, his courage, his strength, his determination. It just really puts into perspective some of the things we face. Not that they're not real and not that they're not tough, but if he can do this and overcome this, what hope does that give us in our challenges and the challenges that face our communities?
Yeah, absolutely. I do feel like we all do need that, like, kind of put yourself in check from time to time. I know, the world gets hard on everyone, as you mentioned. We all go through different things, but looking at just pushing through from a real challenge like that. And I know the challenges feel strong for everybody, but let's look at that. And as Danny mentioned, just like go, okay, well, you know what? If he can do it, I can do it. Like,
just that
empowering
belief, right? That belief that we can overcome. So on our way out, you attended a great event yesterday. You want to talk about that quick?
I did. Yeah. The Metro Managers golf outing in Bensonville. And it was a beautiful, shiny day, very windy. We got kind of blown around the holes here and there. I got a chance to golf with 3 lovely ladies, and it was just a really nice event. Great to get out there. That's why I have this shiny red face, because I got a lot of sun yesterday, kind of first sun for the season. So anyway, it was a great event put on. So fresh off the golf course yesterday.
Awesome. Well,
Golf
Melanie,
season
thank
has
you so
begun.
much for including me and allowing me to be a guest host. And, so excited to be able to fill in. Sounds like so many different exciting things happening, and cannot wait for this conference. ILCMA, Dawn and her team, Phil, leading this conference this year. They've really outdone themselves. This is going to be great.
It is. So ILCMA.org, everyone get registered for that conference. Now is the time. So we will see you the 4th, 5th, and 6th of June, and see you next time.